Hey everyone! Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Zeeshan. I'm a physician. Currently I live in Las Vegas and I'm so excited to put out my first video today for you guys. First and foremost, I genuinely hope all of you guys are doing well out there in this very difficult time. I know quarantine can be very difficult. We as human beings are social creatures, and my thoughts go to all the people who are really struggling at this time, with all the small business owners and many people who've actually been affected by the disease itself. So keep up the good work and hopefully we can get past this thing. However, between my shifts working at the hospital and basically being quarantined at home, I've had a chance to self-reflect, and I encourage all of you guys to do the same, as it can really enlighten you. In this video, I want to talk to you guys about 10 things that I've learned in my personal journey getting to where I'm at today. And these include things that I've learned and picked up on both personally, professionally, and hopefully I want to try to include things of substance, things that I can kind of give you some examples about. So hopefully it can help you and you can gain some insight into your life or learn from mistakes that I've made. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. Number one, realize the power of your very own mind and your thoughts. Your thoughts are everything. They really dictate the way you feel about the world around you and the way that you perceive yourself. Since your thoughts are really your greatest asset, it's really important to learn how to control them and avoid negative thinking. To be honest, most things are not necessarily innately good or bad. Really, it's about the way you see it and your frame of reference. I mean, what's terrible for someone might not be that bad for someone else, and it might be good, conversely, for somebody else out there. Now, I'm sure in the comment section we'll have,
right, the Zeeshan, starvation, poverty, and the fact that there's this terrible virus going around. Those are all terrible things.
Right, they are terrible. But my point is that you shouldn't let obstacles hold you back. And what I mean by that is that there's a really good video about Casey Neistat. I think it's called No Excuses. And he talks to a man who has osteogenesis imperfecta, a condition of really brittle bone disease. And he still managed to not let that hold him back. And he was able to achieve the things that he set out to achieve. And I think that that goes without saying, that it's really about your own willpower and your mind that you can overcome a lot of the obstacles in front of you. Don't let yourself hold yourself back. Also, a really great interview I saw between Elon Musk and Joe Rogan. I encourage you guys to see that video. I'll put the link in the description box below. One of the quotes that was mentioned in that interview was that happiness equals reality minus expectation. That could not be more true. It's really, really something that you have to understand to master. Your own thoughts are literally, they can make or break you. Life is 10% what happens to you and 90% how you react to it. So learn to really control your mind. Number two, don't compare yourself with anyone else, ever, ever. It's completely useless and it will cause you end up feeling so much more discontentment in your life. The life that you see all your favorite friends and your celebrity stars portray themselves on in social media is not necessarily the life they live. And I think that's one reason why social media has, especially in our younger generation, created so much false illusion that everyone's lives are so much more than yours. And that causes you to basically sit down and feel so much more resentment, when it's truly not even the case. To be honest, most people's lives are a lot more stale than what's actually portrayed out there. And these are just mere glimpses of snapshots into people's actual true lives, day-to-day lives. There's a quote by Theodore Roosevelt that goes, "Comparison is the thief of joy." And I think this could not be more true. Number three, failure is okay. It is a part of the process. Perseverance is so incredibly important. And you have to realize, no matter where you're headed in life, you're gonna hit setbacks. This is both personally, professionally. You guys are gonna hit setbacks because that's actually a part of the whole process. If you're climbing a mountain or trying to achieve any goal, there's gonna be things on that mountain that are gonna be challenging. There's gonna be difficult things. It actually makes it so much more rewarding at the end of the hike, essentially, when you actually reach your destination. Success is something that takes a lot of effort and it takes a lot of learning from your mistakes, and you're going to continue to make mistakes, and that's okay. It's a part of the process. It's really all about discovering a way to become stronger from the obstacles that you encounter. How are you going to challenge yourself and expect to improve unless you actually make mistakes and then try to overcome them? So many notable people who ended up finding success after a lot of failure. And I think that it speaks to how important it is to persevere in life. The state that I'm from originally, Kentucky, Colonel Sanders was 62 before he came up with his amazing recipe for the Kentucky Fried Chicken that we all know. J.K. Rowling, another very notable author, was depressed. She was recently divorced, and she was writing her Harry Potter series, and eventually it was published over the age of 30. And it goes to show you have to continue to try to persevere on the road that you're on. Number 4, this one is really important: learning to actually not care. It's really important in your life that you understand that you can't please everyone else. You just can't. And a lot of times you're gonna receive criticism in your life throughout your whole life. And it's important to take valid, constructive criticism. And that's something you have to be okay with. However, there's a lot of people out here in the world who are gonna treat you rudely, with hostility, and you have to learn to not care. You can't let that affect you personally, because this is one that I sometimes would internalize in my past. When if someone else had a bad day and they treated me in a certain different type of way, I would feel maybe I did something wrong. And it's really important that you are able to cope with understanding that not everyone is gonna be amazing to you all the time, and that's okay. You have to be okay with that. I'll give you guys an example of this. When I was a third-year medical student doing my clerkships, I was on a surgery rotation, and one of the fourth-year residents was particularly tough that day, and the things that she had said were maybe not professionally okay to actually say. And I noticed that I actually let that affect me internally quite a bit. It affected me when I went home. It affected my kind of the whole thought process throughout the rest of that rotation. But looking back at it, I should have really learned that if I had mastered the ability to not care and not let that affect me internally, I would have been so much better off. And I think that I would have possibly maybe even improved my performance and learned better, and overall I think done better. So it's a really important point that I encourage all of you guys to really master. Number 5, it's really important to learn to be flexible and adaptable to your situations. There's so many people out there who want to control each and everything, every nuance of their life, and it's frankly impossible. And if you try to do that, you're gonna end up being miserable, because nothing ever goes 100% according to plan, ever. Part of the beauty of life is that you're gonna have things like unexpected twists and turns, ups and downs, and to be okay with that, to accept it, to enjoy the ride and really go with the flow in those opportunities. You need to enjoy some of those spontaneous moments and be flexible, and it'll allow you to be so much more content in the long run. Number 6, finding balance is very important as well. Being in a state of moderation, I feel like, leads you to find so much more fulfillment in your life. Balance is something that's unique, because trying to find balance in your life is something that it won't happen naturally. You have to make it happen. I'll give you guys an example. When I started my first year of medical school, all I did was study all the time. It felt like I was just studying and sleeping, and it started to take a toll on me. I no longer had time for anything I felt like that I used to enjoy, and it started to affect me negatively. But slowly I started to find more discipline in my routine, and I tried to incorporate more of the things that I used to enjoy. I used to love playing guitar. I picked that back up. I started to play more tennis and go to the gym. I started to focus more on my diet and kind of like my sleeping habits as well. And all of that ultimately, interestingly enough, actually improved my grades, and my whole life I found was so much more it was so much more connected, and it felt like I was improving in every aspect of it. I genuinely think your physical health, your mental health, and your emotional health are all linked. So really find that sweet spot where you can manage to ultimately have the best of everything and be the best version of yourself. Number 7, practicing gratitude. Being grateful for the things that you have. We kind of alluded on this one a little bit earlier, but I feel like it deserves its own mention. This one is a difficult one because naturally we are not very grateful for what we already have. We're always longing and wanting for something else or something new. And I realize with this one, you have to conscientiously really ingrain your mind to practice it. I feel like one popular exercise is to journal or write maybe 3 things every morning or every night that you are indeed grateful for in your life. Gratitude is something that once you start to practice it and you start to ingrain it in your thinking, you will actually form it as a part of your personality, and it's actually going to make you so much more likable as a human being. People want to be around that type of energy. So for that reason, I think learning to master this is going to serve you really well in the long run. Your mind has to focus on the things that you have and your successes that you have achieved and the things around you, the things that you value, and focusing on being happy with the current situation, what you do have, and counting your blessings is essentially going to save you so much more of a headache and allow you to ultimately achieve so much more peace of mind. Number 8, the idea of sacrifice, delayed gratification, no pain, no gain. All of these are related. Oftentimes in life, you're gonna have to sacrifice some things in order to achieve other things. It's inevitable. You can't have everything. In medicine, we actually see this so much because our whole careers are built and surrounded with training. I mean, studying in medical school, you do a residency afterwards in which there's basically extensive hours in training and studying when you're not working. So it's something that I think the physician cohort is really familiar with. I think sacrifice is something though that it relates to everyone else in their life too. I'll give you guys a personal example. When I was a third-year medical student, my grandmother, who actually lived overseas, was becoming progressively more and more sick. Now, I had a very close relationship to her. I actually was raised by her when I was very young, before my mom actually came and brought me to the States at the age of 4. So basically my mother and I had scheduled to go and see her as soon as my clerkship was over, and we had the tickets and everything booked. We spoke to her on the phone before our flight, and we had a layover in Doha, and at that point we actually were notified that she actually didn't make it. So she had passed away, and that was when I realized that there's a lot of things in life that you end up having to sacrifice for whatever it is that you're doing. It's unfortunately really painful, but it is a true part of life. Number 9, don't be afraid to do your own thing. It's okay to be independent. It's fine to not follow the same path that everyone else has of you. Do your own thing. Some of the most successful entrepreneurs and people in the world really were people who were creative and went their own way, and that's fine. It's completely okay. My advice for you would be that it's okay to listen to other people's criticisms, their opinions, you know, the thoughts of people that are close to you like your family and friends, but ultimately do what you're gonna do anyway. I think there's a lot of different paths and many routes to ultimately get to the same destination, and that's the best way to put it. And in fact, there is no one right answer. Nobody knows you know, what's best for you, and ultimately you've got to make that decision and do what you feel is best. So don't be afraid to do your own thing, be independent, be creative, do you. Number 10, finally, it's the point that happiness comes from within. Happiness is not something that you're gonna achieve from material things. I mean, think about it. When you were younger and you eventually were able to get that new toy, that new Nintendo, the new games, or whatever else was out there, you value that stuff for a while. The new iPhone, it's all so cool initially, but you get over it. And that's how it is in life with other things. As you know, eventually go up and you kind of grow, you realize that the more material things that you chase, they don't really have an end. I mean, if you, for instance, a lot of people chase money, and that's a really bad idea because numbers are infinite. You'll never reach a goal. And it's like, if happiness ultimately is the highest number, well, then that's just not gonna be obtainable, right? It's inevitable that you're gonna be disappointed. So I think there's a really good quote that I think I can lay out here as well. The quote is by Jim Carrey. The quote goes, "I think everybody should get rich and famous and do everything they ever dreamed of so they can see it's not the answer." Wow, that's a pretty good one from a Hollywood celebrity. And I think it really goes to show that finding happiness is something you have to do internally. It's gonna come from within. And the way you really go about this, I think, is by practicing so many of the other points that I've already alluded to or mentioned. So guys, these are some of the things that I've learned and tried to pick up on in my journey to getting to where I'm at. I genuinely hope they help you guys out. It's still a work in progress for me. I know that ultimately it's not something that's easy, and it takes a lot of effort to try to incorporate some of these things in your life. But I'm really confident if you take this advice and use it and actually try to apply it to yourselves, ultimately you'll be so much more fulfilled and happy at the end of the day. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. Like, comment, subscribe. Please tell me if there's anything in particular you guys want me to make a video on or you have any questions on, and I'll see you soon. Take care.